This is Ryan at My Mattress. Thank you for the overwhelming response so far for our Labor Day sale this year. Purple and Tempur-Pedic are up to $1,500 off, $99 twins and $399 queens, plus 5 years no interest financing available. We've been here 15 years, offering our 90-day sleep guarantee and 90-day price guarantee. Price, quality, service. Try finding even 2 of those online. Come into My Mattress today. The Labor Day sale. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
My name is Rob Phelps, and I work with the hospice team at the Sunshine Terrace Foundation. When people ask what I do for a living, I tell them I work in hospice, helping individuals and their families navigate one of the most difficult and vulnerable times of life. This year, we thank you for recognizing Sunshine Hospice as your gold-winning hospice in the best of northern Utah. But the real rewards are helping your loved ones experience a more comfortable, peaceful, and dignified end-of-life journey. To learn more, visit sunshineterrace.org.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only 2 things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on a beautiful Saturday morning with temperatures right now sitting at 56 degrees. I'm Will Feelright. Joining me on the KVNU studio line doing the show remotely this morning is KVNU's Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden with the Garden Guide. And Mark, you said it was beautiful in Moab, and I think it's even more beautiful here, but I'm a little biased, I have to admit.
I think it's a little bit warmer here, but
okay, you can take that one.
Yeah, weather's looking pretty good, and we're excited for a nice day here.
Oh, great. Well, a lot to be able to talk about this morning when it comes to gardens, because I think most people are in full harvest mode. I was talking to a few neighbors last night, and they said, yeah, we've got zucchinis coming out of our ears, and we've got beans that got to be picked, and corn is on. So, yeah, a lot to be able to talk about this morning.
Well, there really is. And what a great time of year when the weather finally cools down and we can just go out there and harvest something almost every day. So yesterday for our little trip here to Moab, we got cucumbers and we got cantaloupe and we got carrots right out of the garden to cut up and take with us. So we had a delightful drive down, even with the 3-hour delay of traffic in Salt Lake.
Oh. Apparently everybody was taking off for Labor Day.
It was pretty close. It took us 3 hours to get to Provo, so that's kind of sad. Yeah.
Well, if people would like to join the show, if they've got a question or a comment, they can call in, of course, to 435-753-KVNU. That's 753-5868. And one of the things that I'm seeing in our garden is being able to get fruit and vegetables to ripen. It seems like this is a year that tomatoes are really slow to ripen. All of a sudden, our peaches, they went from being not ripe to just almost overripe. And it's like, wow, within just a couple of days, all of a sudden we were picking all of the peaches. And so we can talk a little bit about when is the right time to pick, when is the right time to just say, let's keep the fruit on the trees a little bit longer so that you're not picking them too early.
Yeah. And there's some vegetables that we probably should harvest right now and get in storage, like onions and even your potatoes as well too, since most of our potatoes are probably ready to go. Mm-hmm. A lot of people just leave them out there in the garden and they really should be dug up. So between potatoes and onions, probably should be doing some storage for fall. So we can definitely discuss that. And then I've got people that are coming in asking, how to tell if their cantaloupes or their watermelons are ready as well too. So So it's a little tricky sometimes when harvest season comes around, and you only do it once a year. So you kind of forget from year to year how to do things. So it's like, I've only done that once before. It was last year. I can't remember exactly. So
well, and a lot of times it depends upon the temperatures that we've had leading up to the harvest time, because sometimes harvest can be pushed up a little bit. Sometimes it could be delayed a little bit.
A little late. Yeah. Exactly, and it seems like onions were a little slow this year as well too. Actually, a little early. It came on a little bit early, not slow. And then I know what you're saying with the peaches. It's like our donut peach this week. We basically had to pick the whole thing because they were all ready to go. So they were ready. But I'll tell you what, they were absolutely delicious. So we'll take them.
Yeah. Our little peach tree, it's only been in the ground for 3 years, and this was the first harvest we got on it. And after thinning it twice, it still was overloaded, and I should have probably even thinned it a little more. But I was just so excited to see some peaches coming on that tree, and we helped it along. And, oh, wow, those peaches have just been delicious. My wife has been joking with me because I've been eating about 3 to 4 of them each meal. Because they're just so good.
Well, getting ready for those marathons, you're burning it all off.
She keeps telling me, she's like, you're going to regret eating all that fruit all at once. That's all right. So you only get one chance at it. But before we get into harvesting and all things garden, let's talk about Anderson Seed and Garden, because a lot of excitement going to be going on in downtown Logan today around Anderson Seed and Garden.
So, of course, we've got the Gardeners Market is going on every Saturday, and it's a great opportunity to get out and see what everybody else is growing. There's always something a little bit fun going on over there. But today on Center Street, we've got the Art Beat Music Festival. So if you try and drive down Center Street, it's going to be closed, but there's going to be some great bands and some great music and some cool art happening right there on Center Street. So should be a good time. So make sure you come in to our parking lot through the back. Let's avoid the front door, because that might be a little difficult to get downtown today. So, but the Art Beat Music Festival, this is their second year, and they had a lot of attendance last year, and it was a really fun event. It was great. So we're excited to see what they do today.
Okay, and that'll be going on from noon to late into the night tonight. Understand they'll have two stages set up, live bands performing throughout the afternoon, plus also all sorts of vendors, food trucks, and everything else.
Yep, all kinds of fun stuff happening. So
great.
Should be great. Yep. At Anderson's, we still have our cash sale going on. So all of our remaining trees and shrubs, evergreens, fruit trees, roses, vines, they are all 40% off. But if you pay with cash, you get an extra 10, and so it makes them 50% off. And this is a great time to come down and see what we've got. Just got a new shipment of perennials in. All of our perennials are 25% off. We've got some nice fall blooming mums and some fall blooming asters and a lot of things that are in color right now for some great fall planting. And then the garlic is in as well too. So we've got a full selection of garlic at Anderson's, and we've got more varieties on their way. So we should have more garlic arriving here shortly. And then probably next week we'll start getting our fall bulbs. So tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, crocus, they'll all be showing up here in the next, I'd say probably 7 to 10 days. We'll have all of our fall bulbs arriving as well too. It's always that first or second week of September. And so we're super excited to see fall bulb season arrive at Anderson's as well too.
Oh, great. All right. So a lot of things we can talk about today as far as it comes to harvesting, when to pick, when to wait off, and also as we got a lot of rain over the last couple of days, we can talk about watering too a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. I was thinking about watering, and since we're moving into September, we can adjust our mowing and our watering schedules just a little bit, so we don't have to water nearly as much as we have throughout the summer, since we had 2 raindrops for 3 months. And then how much did we get this week? Did we get like 1.5 inches?
Yeah, well, not quite 1.5 inches. It was more about 3/4 of an inch here at the radio ranch. Now, there were other areas that saw a lot more rain.
It got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
depending upon where you
more.
were, you may have gotten more or less than that, but we had 3/4 of an inch that fell here at the Radio Ranch.
Wonderful. That's exactly what we're looking for. And an inch of water per week is really what your turf needs right now. And so if we got that much water, you can basically shut your sprinklers off for at least 4 or 5 days and let Mother Nature do its work. And there's something interesting about rain when it falls. There's always a little bit of nitrogen in the atmosphere, so it brings that down with it. It just really perks the plants up and makes them look good. But it's also going to make weeds grow in your garden like crazy.
There's always a drawback, right?
Yeah, there's always a drawback.
Yeah.
So it's like I was out in the garden before we left, picking all that stuff, and it's just like, oh man, I can just see this carpet of weeds that just took off with the rainstorms this week. And I planted some new peas. So about 10 days ago or so, I planted some more peas, and they came up really quick, and they're doing great. But that rainstorm, there's a blanket of weeds surrounding all the peas now. They're just like the weeds grew so fast with that rain that they've almost overtaken the peas. And so I'm going to have to do some serious weeding when we get back. So definitely weed season, especially with the cooler temperatures. It's really nice to see the temperatures in the 70s and 80s, which means we can actually go after weeds in our lawn as well too. So good time to harvest. Great time to start thinking about onions and potatoes. We can talk about those here in a minute on how to harvest and store those. But, weeds in the turf. It's been a hot, dry summer. We haven't been able to control weeds, and so now's the time to get after those guys.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, I guess a great place to start out this morning, Mark, would be with harvesting. A lot of plants are loaded. A lot of fruit trees are loaded. And one thing that we're finding, like I said, our peach trees came on. We were picking all of those last night. But pears are a little slower. When's the best time to pick pears?
So you want to pick your pears when they're still green. And so we've got a Bartlett pear at home and also an Anjou. And we always pick those when they're just barely starting to show a little bit of color. Because they're better when you pick them and they're really firm, and then you let them kind of ripen and mellow in storage. And so we'll harvest those, and then we'll put them in bushel baskets or cardboard boxes, and then we will just put them in our garage and let them mellow that on their own in the garage where it's kind of cool and dry and dark.
Okay.
And the pears will ripen up better that way. With the apples, it's better to let them, pretty much ripen on the tree and harvest those. So we've harvested all of our summer apples, and I think some of our McIntosh are probably getting pretty close. They're usually about mid-September when those are ready, but our summer apples came on a little bit early, and so I would suspect some of our other fruits will come on a little bit early this year as well too. So it'll be interesting to see how the apples mature. And like I was mentioning before, onions and potatoes really with the rain kind of starting up in September, and it's starting to cool down. Those onions and potatoes need to be harvested and brought in, or else they'll start to grow some more. And to really cure them and get them ready for fall and for winter storage, you want to make sure that those are in proper storage and get them out of the garden right now. So right before these rains came, I dug my onions up and I turned them upside down out in the garden so that the root system was exposed. And so I pulled those all up and exposed the root system for 2 days, and I saw that the storms were going to be coming in. And so earlier in the week, I let them sit out there for 2 days, and then right before it started raining, we went and gathered those up. I put them in a wheelbarrow and moved them to my barn, and then spread them out on the straw in the barn in just one little area so that they could dry properly. So the onions do much, much better if they get in a warm, dry, and dark location for curing, and we're going to let those onions sit for about 6 weeks, and then I'll gather them up, trim the tops off, and put them in onion bags, and then take them downstairs in the cool and dry for storage through the winter time. So the onions really need that curing time to develop the hard outer wrapper skins.
Okay.
And then we'll gather those all up and then put them in our cool storage location. So, but if you leave them outside, they'll start to grow again. And if they start to grow again, then you'll get split centers. So the centers will start to cure. And then once they get wet, rainstorms like we had this week, then they'll start to split, and you'll get double centers, and then they won't keep as well.
Okay.
So really, this is the time to gather those onions up and let them start to cure if you want to keep them through the winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Phone lines are open if you have a question or comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden here on this Saturday morning at 435-753-KVNU. That's 753-5868. Now, coming back to when to pick. Now, you mentioned I've always kind of been told that apples, it's almost best to let them kind of experience that first mild frost that'll really kind of seal in the taste and the sweetness into those apples. So, I mean, we're still probably a little ways on the apples, but a lot of your other fruit trees, you say that it's probably best to pick them now, like, for example, pears, and then let them ripen up inside.
Yeah. So with the pears, we're gonna harvest those like while they're still green, and ours are close but not there. So usually I'll kind of wait till like the first couple pears are starting to ripen on the tree, and then we'll just go and harvest all of them. So that's probably going to be more towards the end of this month, and then we'll let them mellow in storage, and then they'll ripen up, and then they'll be like perfect. They'll be perfect that way. But with apples, we've got some earlier apples that will be coming on before it's going to freeze. So like our Macintosh are usually coming on towards the middle or later part of September, and so we'll start picking those when they get ready. In fact, we've made pies already out of all of our summer apples, and they've been delicious. But they came on a little bit earlier than usual, and so I'm curious to see how that's going to play out this year. But some of your other apples, if we get a light frost, that's great. That won't damage the apples at all, and like you said, it kind of seals some of the flavor in there. But it's not absolutely necessary. But if we get a really hard frost where we're down into the low 20s, that's when we usually tell people to make sure and harvest your stuff before that frost, because it will damage your apples. You'll get water spots on your apples, and they won't keep very well as well too. So there's some issues that way. One thing that we have seen a lot of the last couple of years is, especially in Golden Delicious and in Honeycrisp apples, is a condition that's called bitter pit, and you'll see these kind of sunken spots on the apples, and underneath the sunken spots it'll be kind of corky. The tissue underneath will be corky, and you can peel it off, and the rest of the fruit is fine, but it damages your fruit and it makes it so it doesn't keep as well. And then through harvest, sometimes you'll harvest them and they'll look great, and you put them in storage, and a couple of weeks later they'll just develop spots all over them, and then you basically have to throw them away because they've deteriorated so quickly. That bitter pit is caused by a calcium deficiency, and so it's not even a disease; it's a nutrient deficiency in the plants. And so we've been recommending the last few years that anyone who's experiencing that in the fall during harvest, the next year you want to use calcium nitrate on your trees. And calcium nitrate we use on tomatoes and peppers and squashes for blossom end rot, but it's great for the bitter pit in the apples because the calcium is so readily available to the plants. And so you can just like broadcast that underneath your trees in the spring, and then maybe once again through the summertime, and it's got that high calcium in there, and it will absolutely correct your bitter pit that shows up in Honeycrisp especially, and Golden Delicious apples as well too.
All right. Phone lines are open, 435-753-5868, 753-KVNU, if you have a question or a comment for Mark Anderson here during the Garden Guide. And Mark, one other fruit that's really coming on right now, raspberries. And one thing my wife and I, as we were picking a few last night, we were thinking, we probably have not fertilized our raspberries as much as we should have and we've done in years past. Being late in the season now, is it all right to still be putting fertilizer on those plants, or is it best to let them set their fruit and then we'll start fertilizing next year?
In the fall, we just do the picking, and if you need to, I do just a little bit of minor pruning. But this late in the season, I wouldn't do any more fertilizer. We're going to want them to start to go dormant and prepare for winter time. And if we fertilize too much in September, then you're going to encourage a lot more growth when they should be going dormant. Same thing with roses. So we'll usually recommend the last fertilization of roses in early August, and then no more fertilizer after that. So since the raspberries are similar, they're cane plants like the roses, then we would treat them the same way. So minimal pruning in the fall. I like to do that harvest, and then a little bit of pruning if they're tall. You think they might get damaged through the winter time, but then I'm going to prune them again first thing in the spring. And so no more fertilizer. You could put on a slow release type iron, like iron sulfate, or there's other varieties of iron, like Iron Plus, that might be good to put on right now. But no nitrogen fertilizer. We don't want to encourage a lot of growth. And then next spring, when we prune them down and get them ready to start producing for next year, that's when I like to fertilize.
Okay. All right. So hold off on the fertilizer, let them begin to go dormant, and then next year start hitting it really heavy.
Yep. Early in the spring, as soon as you prune them, that's when we'll put a nice ammonium sulfate fertilizer on there, or slow release nitrogen, and chelated iron. Chelated iron to really get those going, and that would be preferable to fertilizing right now. But enjoy that harvest. This is a great time, and those ever-bearing raspberries are really producing like crazy when temperatures cool down in September.
Yeah, they do. I picked a couple on Wednesday night, and we had to go back out and pick more of them last night. So they really come on quick, and they really are plentiful right now. So
that's a terrible problem to have, aren't it?
Yeah, tell that to my bowl of Cheerios this morning. It makes it just so much better.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, we'll kind of shift back and go to the garden again. Potatoes. So a lot of people grew up in Idaho and northern Utah, and we're used to going and doing the potato harvest in Idaho. And Idaho russets, they take about 30 days longer to mature than the potatoes that we can grow in northern Utah. Soils are different, and so a good old Burbank russet, which is like the standard Idaho russet potato, it takes about 150 days to mature, and potatoes that we grow take about 100 to 120 days. And so your potatoes are probably done. If your vines are dying down and discoloring, they're starting to yellow up, those potatoes are ready to go. And so usually right around Labor Day is when we like to dig all of our potatoes up.
Okay.
And they don't need to cure out in the garden for a couple days like the onions do. We'll just dig those potatoes up, put them in, we'll rub the excess dirt off of them if they're a little bit moist, get them kind of cleaned up, but don't wash them, clean the excess dirt off of those. And then just put them in burlap sacks and put them right into your cold storage. And that's the best way to keep those potatoes from getting kind of knobby, and they'll keep a lot better through the wintertime for you if you do that as well too. If you leave them in the ground too long and they start to grow, they'll develop kind of knobby growths that develop on the tubers themselves. And then the tubers, as they mature, they start to cure and they develop a hard outer shell to them, but it doesn't develop perfectly even all the way over the entire potato. So when they start to grow again, they don't grow evenly and the whole potato grows. They grow in sections that haven't cured, and so then you get these kind of growths that come off the potatoes, and it makes them knobby instead of potato shaped. They've got these odd appendages growing off of them, and that's because they've started to cure already. And so to prevent that, you just got to harvest them on time.
Okay.
And this is the time to harvest because, as I mentioned before, Idaho russets take about 30 days longer. Potato harvest season is always the 1st of October in Idaho. That's, they used to shut down the schools so the kids could go help with the potato harvest.
Yeah.
And you get out of school, it was always the first weekend, or the first week of October. And that's because that's when Idaho russets are ready. And a lot of people are transplants from Idaho, or they grew up, harvesting potatoes, and they've moved here to northern Utah now, and they think, well, I should wait till the 1st of October to harvest my potatoes, when in fact it really is the 1st of September when we should be harvesting our potatoes. So we dig ours up. I'll use that afternoon or that morning or whatever to kind of let them dry, rub the excess dirt off of them, put them in burlap sacks, and you can categorize them however you want. Some people like to keep the reds separate. Some people like to keep the whites and the purples separate. Or they'll harvest and store together just fine. If you want the red, white, and blue mix, that's just fine. You can do that as well too. It's kind of down to personal preference.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, phone lines are open if you have a question or comment for Mark as we head towards our bottom of the hour news break. 435-753-5868. Coming back, we'll talk about a lot of excitement happening in downtown Logan today, and we'll also get to more of the deals and discounts. Right now, the cash sale with some great deals on trees. We'll talk more about that coming up next, and looking for your calls for the KVNU Garden Guide here on KVNU. And be right back. Check out some of our top stories here at the bottom of the hour. I'm Will Feelright. Well, for the second day in a row, USU's D. Glenn Smith Spectrum was transformed from a place of excitement to somber remembrance Friday as funeral services were held for Sergeant Lee Sorensen. Now, Officer Colton Buckley worked in Sergeant Sorensen's patrol in the Tremont and Garland Police Department for over a year, and he reflected on how Lee was always giving to others, never asking for anything in return.
I stand with you all today to honor not just a father and a friend, but the best example of what an officer is.
Now, Tremont and Garland Police Chief Dustin Cordova said that Sergeant Sorensen was more than just an officer, but the cornerstone of the police department.
Today we mourn our brother who gave everything in the service of others. He sacrificed himself to protect an innocent life that night, and he will forever be our hero. His bravery is not just a memory, it is a torch passed to us. When we put on the badge tomorrow, we must carry it with his honor in our hearts. We will hold the line, answer the call, and protect the innocent with renewed strength for Lee, for his family, and for the people he gave everything to protect.
Now, Sergeant Sorensen, a 56-year-old lifelong resident of Garland, served his community for 16 years as an officer, recently earning the rank of sergeant. And the Utah Board of Education says it's concerned about the dramatic spike in chronic absenteeism, which is a major factor in students dropping out of school. According to the Utah State Board of Education attendance specialist Garrett Russell, chronic absenteeism, defined as a student missing 10% of school days, has climbed to 26% in 2023 compared to just 11.9% of the decade prior. Well, mostly clear skies the next several days as temperatures going to stay in the high 70s to low 80s with overnight temperatures around the mid-50s. Will Feelright, KVNU News.
Good morning, this is Jensen Richards. We'll begin with college football in the thin air of Boulder, Colorado. Third-year head coach Deion Sanders and the CU Buffs open their season playing host to Georgia Tech. To the highlights we go. Fourth quarter, Colorado clinging to a 1-point lead, but watch out for Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King.
King claps, snaps, fakes the toss, runs right, puts a hand in the back of his line, breakthrough. He's at the 35, 30. He's gone. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Haynes King. 1:07 to go. Jackets lead 26-20.
The call on Georgia Tech Sports Network. Georgia Tech overcame a turnover-filled start in that game to beat Colorado 27-20. Big 12 versus SEC matchup on tap on a Friday night. Baylor hosting Auburn. We go to the third quarter. Auburn holding on to a 6-point lead and receiving a kickoff.
High kickoff. Pleasant will take this one from the 3. Forward 10, 15. Pleasant 20, 25, 30, 40, 50. Down the sideline, 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Touchdown Auburn! Ray Sean Pleasant. No flags. 97 yards. And that route reminds me of Chris Davis down the left sideline in the kick 6.
The call on the Auburn Sports Network. Tigers beat Baylor 38-24. To the Diamond now. Yankees and the White Sox in Chicago. It was a full house for Trent Grisham.
2 out, Yanks leading 1-0. And Grisham providing the separation. That is gone. A grand slam for Trent Grisham.
The call on the Yes Network. Yankees beat the White Sox 10-2.
Cal Ranch is ready to fuel your work and your play with Labor Day deals happening all week long. At Cal Ranch, we're your workwear headquarters with the best value on trusted footwear, like 25% off boots built to last and priced to move from Milwaukee, Georgia Boot, and Durango. Plus, shop at Cal Ranch and try a pair of Western Justin boots with waterproof and steel toe options for 20% off. And gear up on Carhartt with rugged footwear and breathable moisture-wicking socks, plus durable Carhartt backpacks and lunch coolers, all for 25% off. The Labor Day savings don't quit, so stop by Cal Ranch from August 28th through September 7th for deals to save your hard-earned dollar, only at Cal Ranch.
We're your Cal Ranch store, ranch and home store, and so much more.
Save big from August 28th through September 7th at Cal Ranch.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And welcome back to the Garden Guide here on KVNU. Right now, sitting at a nice 58 degrees with a little smoke still in the valley. And as I was mentioning in the weather forecast, we're looking at some beautiful weather as Labor Day has always kind of been the final hurrah of summer. And Mark, we hate to say it, but it looks like fall is going to be just around the corner.
It looks like it's coming, but you know what? The temperatures are looking great for this week, so we will take that. It's good gardening weather, and if you don't garden, it's good golfing weather too. So
that's true. And speaking of golf and grass and lawn, it's definitely time to spend a little time greening up the lawn, taking care of it, because with the rain that we've had, you mentioned it, not only is it going to green up your lawn, but it's going to allow those weeds just to take over.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a lot of weeds that have developed through the summertime with our hot, dry summer. And so we're seeing lots and lots of spurge. We're seeing dandelions, morning glory, puncture vine. You know, we're seeing a lot of different weeds that have really infiltrated lawns and gardens as well, too. So with cooler temperatures, you know, it's a great time to use a broadleaf herbicide to try and control weeds. And a broadleaf herbicide won't hurt your grass. So when people come in and they're trying to get rid of weeds in their lawns, we'll usually tell them, hey, this will kill everything but grass. So, you know, keep it out of your flower beds, keep it out of the vegetable garden, because it's going to kill everything except grass. And so it's safe to use on your turf. And probably my go-to for this time of year would definitely be weed-free zone. And the weed-free zone kills the hardest to kill weeds. So morning glory, thistles, mallow, clover, dandelions, puncture vine, you know, it works on all those weeds, and it works fast. So if we're getting 70 to 80 degree temperatures and you spray in the morning, you'll see those weeds curl up in the afternoon. Next day for sure, because it does work quickly, and it works on those difficult to control weeds. And temperature-wise, we like to keep it under 90, and so these upcoming temperatures and weather conditions are just absolutely perfect for controlling weeds in your lawn. You can be very selective in your flower beds and in your garden, but I'd switch to a different product. I would use Decimate from Fertilome, because the Decimate doesn't have any soil residual activity. It'll only kill what you spray it on. So if you use Decimate, you can be very selective. You could go up and down your rows. You've got Morning Glory or Puncture Vine coming, and every time you hoe it, it just comes right back. Decimate will get down in the root system and kill those out, but you can be very strategic and even surgical with it and just precision spray the weeds that you need to kill, and then it won't drift over and damage nearby plants as well too. So it's a great way to clear some of the really pesky perennial weeds out of your flower beds and out of your garden, especially this time of year where the temperatures are cooling down. Fall's really the best time of year to control weeds, because they know that winter's coming, and so they're going to start storing energy down in their root system. So when you use an herbicide like that, the plants think that it's food. They think that it's a fertilizer, and so they'll absorb it in through the foliage, through the leaves, and then they run it down into their root system to try and store it for winter. Since fall's here, they can really feel the difference in the shorter days, in the cooler nights. They'll run it down the root system, and then it kills the root system out as well too. So great time of year to really get after weeds, not just in the lawn, but in the flower beds and in the vegetable gardens as well too.
Okay. 435-753-5868 if you have a question or comment for Mark. I know Morning Glory, Mark, it just seems like it's the bane of our existence, because even when you kill it back and you think you have it conquered, it seems to just continually come back. Even just pulling it, spraying it. Any tips for Morning Glory?
Yeah, but the Morning Glory, the Weed Free Zone, and the Decimate, the two herbicides that I mentioned, those do a great job on Morning Glory.
Okay.
What's tricky about Morning Glory is you can kill the plant, but they drop a lot of seed as well too. So every time they flower, those flowers get pollinated, and then they form seed, and so they drop seed. So a lot of times you'll kill the Morning Glory and have it come back new from seed, and so using a pre-emergent would really help with that as well too. So pre-emergent like Dimension or Gallery in your turf will suppress a lot of those weeds. The Gallery is actually very, very effective at stopping Morning Glory seeds, and so customers who are really struggling with a lot of weeds coming up year after year after year, we'll have them use a product with Gallery in it, and the Gallery is a 6-month weed preventer, and so as those seeds germinate in the ground, it will actually kill the germ as they're starting to get established and prevent the weed from coming up in the first place. So Gallery is safe to use in ornamental plantings as well as on turf, and it will prevent those weeds from coming up. So the Gallery is great. Dimension's really good. Treflan, excellent for planting areas, but you can't use the Treflan on turf. So there's specific varieties of pre-emergent we can use on turf. There's some that are safe for ornamental plantings, landscape, and then we have a few that work in vegetables and edibles as well too. So those pre-emergents really will help a lot right now, because you get a couple of rainstorms like we had this week, and weeds are popping up like everywhere, all over the place. And so weed preventers can really save a lot of work and stop those weeds before they get started. So,
all right. Well, Mark, we've got a caller who's just calling in right now. We have Todd who's joining us on the line. Todd, welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Great, Todd.
Doing well.
Well, Mark, I envy you.
It's gonna be nice down here. We might have to do a couple hikes, and we do have a entrance permit for arches today. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, you deserve it. Anyway, I got a question for you. We are thinking about replacing our garden boxes.
Okay.
And we want to raise them to like waist high and stuff.
Sure.
Who would you recommend in the valley to give us an estimate?
That's a good question. Some of the raised beds that we actually carry are made out of concrete block, and those concrete block are made right here in Utah, so it's a local product, comes from Richfield, And traditionally they are 16 inches tall, but you could stack them twice as tall, have them 32 inches high. And so they're customizable. And great thing about the concrete block raised beds is they're pretty much indestructible. I mean, they'll last as long as you will. And once you get them filled up, you can use that soil over and over and over and over again. And the taller the raised bed, the more you can, put different things down the bottom of your raised bed, so you don't have to fill them completely with soil. And so you can use different aggregates for drainage, less expensive options. As long as you've got 16 to 18, maybe 20 inches of soil on top of those, you could stack them as high as you needed to. They're very decorative. They're good looking. Come in probably, I think, 8 different colors. And if you buy redwood, they'll probably cost more for the redwood than they will for the concrete block. And so those you can build easily yourself. All you need is the bricks and a little bit of concrete adhesive, and they'll stay together for a very, very long time. And good looking, nice colors, and a lot of different configurations that you can do on those too. You don't have to do them 8.5 by 5.5 wide. You can reconfigure the bricks into different sizes and different shapes if you'd like.
Okay, I'm just kind of worried about our space that we've got. So
yeah. So
okay,
are you thinking about doing something different? Something with legs on it. The ones with the legs are all right, but they do cool down and in the fall, and they stay cold in the spring because you got the air circulation underneath. And so I've seen a lot of those, and then they are made out of wood. They tend to deteriorate a lot faster. I mean, some of the new galvanized steel ones that I've seen are quite nice, but they also get really expensive really fast for a small raised bed. So if you want to grow anything of any significant size, you need something larger than 2 by 3. I was just at a trade show, and they had some really cool raised beds, and I was like, those are really cool. I'd be able to get one tomato plant in there, and it's here's this 2 by 3 raised bed, and I'm just like, this is awesome, but my one tomato is going to fill that sucker up. So it's like, what I'm going to do with it? I need 10 of those to be able to grow anything in my backyard. So just depends on how much space you've got, Todd.
Yeah, we don't have very much space in our backyard for those anyway. So I was just trying to, do some investigation and see what we needed. So thank you,
yeah,
sir.
for sure. You're very welcome.
You have a good day now. Be careful.
All right, you too. Thanks, Todd.
Phone lines are open at 435-753-5868. If you have a question or a comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden, we have Calvin joining us on the line now from Hyde Park. Calvin, welcome to the show.
Good morning. I have a question about the asparagus ferns. When do you cut those down?
So the asparagus ferns will develop seeds on them, and usually in September you'll see those seed pods form. And what we will usually recommend is once those seeds kind of start to dry and drop off, you can go out there and you can shake those ferns and get the seeds to drop, or you can cut them down at that point and then shake the cut ferns off and try and get those seeds to drop, and then kind of rake them just lightly without hopefully damaging your asparagus. Rake them with a leaf rake or something that's soft that won't damage your roots. And when we cut those ferns, I'll cut them on a 45-degree angle just right below the surface. So I'll take a knife and I'll actually cut them just barely below the surface, and that seems to work really, really well. And if you're dropping seeds all over the place, then you'll get new asparagus that come up, and your patch will just get thicker and kind of rejuvenate itself over time as well too. So probably the next couple of weeks will be perfect time to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I was a question about the seeds. You want to let those grow?
Yeah. The seeds, of course, will produce very small asparagus next year. And you won't want to harvest those. You want to let them go for actually 2 years before you start harvesting them. But once they start getting about as big around as your pinky, then you can start harvesting those new spears. But it's a good way to rejuvenate your asparagus bed with some new asparagus in there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Hey, thanks for calling this morning, Calvin.
Bye.
435-753-5868. That's 753-KVNU if you have a question for Mark at Anderson Seed and Garden. One thing I've found with raised beds, though, coming back to Todd's question, Mark, is we put in a raised bed several years ago to put asparagus in, and the biggest mistake we made was putting a liner underneath that bed and before we put the dirt in. And that was just a huge mistake. I wish we could have gone back to fix.
I guess you can always take it apart,
Yeah. So make sure you don't put any sort of liners in it. Don't put a layer of plastic down or anything like that because, that'll definitely cause you problems.
Well, there's a lot of gardeners that think you need to put something down underneath to keep weeds from coming up from the bottom. And most of the time, the weeds aren't coming up from the bottom. Their seeds are blowing in, and so they're germinating on top and then going down through. And so usually we'll just say, hey, there's no need to do that liner on the bottom. Unless you have like really, really fine soil that you think is going to like filter out the bottom. We usually recommend not to do that, and it really depends on what your raised bed's made of. But it'll retain the soil, and it'll be deep enough that you won't have weeds coming up in there and working their way up from the bottom. And so we'll start with killing off the weeds. Decimate or Kills-All would work great. You could put a pre-emergent down if you really wanted to, but usually we don't recommend putting a liner. It's not necessary. It can cause problems later for drainage.
Yeah, that's the one thing that has just really impacted and made it difficult for our asparagus plants is that liner. And it's that thing now I find it's like, okay, do I just dig it up, pull the liner out? I just continue to suffer through with it, and we're getting to the point where we're like, okay, we just got to take that liner out.
Sometimes you can like drive some rebar through and get some drainage going, but other times you just got to do the work and take it apart and replace
redo it. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we have another caller in this morning, and Kathy is joining us on the line. Kathy, thanks for holding, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. I kind of missed the second part of your conversation there with Mark, just because I don't know why I can only hear you. But I was wondering if, and it sounds like maybe you were talking about this, having asparagus in a garden box.
Yeah.
And does it need to be in the sun all the time, or can half shade, half sun work?
Asparagus does much better if it is in full sun most of the day. So I would give it at least 12 hours of full sun. And if it gets some, afternoon or some morning shade, that would be okay. But make sure it's getting, at least 10 to 12 hours of sunlight every day. And asparagus don't like heavy soil, and so raised beds work great for asparagus because you can condition the soil, get it really light and loose and fluffy, and the asparagus will love that. So well drained. We only water ours like once every 7 to 10 days, so we don't do frequent waterings on the asparagus. But since they're down deeper in the soil holds the moisture longer, so you don't have to water as frequently. And full sun. You're right on, Kathy.
Okie doke. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
About 6 more minutes here, and we could probably squeeze in one more call. 753-5868, 753-KVNU. If you've got a question or comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. One thing that we haven't mentioned, though, Mark, is as we are transitioning into the fall, definitely time to change our mowing for our yard.
Yes. So mowing and watering. So temperatures are cooling down. Instead of watering every 2 or 3 days, you could probably start pushing it to every 3 or 4 days. Let's try and go a little bit in between waterings, conserve a little bit of water. And it's actually really good for your turf to give it a good deep watering and then let it dry out in between waterings. And so we'll start adjusting our sprinklers from 2 or 3 times a week to just 1 to 2 times a week with temperatures dropping. But your grass is going to grow really fast, especially if we're getting rainstorms in between. And so you can start to drop your mower down just a little bit as fall progresses. So right now we're still at 3 to 4 inches, and as we get towards the end of September, you could drop that down to like 2 inches, and then by the end of October, we're down to like 1.5 inches, or some people will go even shorter. And then when we do our final mowing, which would be really nice to do that in October, but I usually end up doing it end of November, 1st of December, right before it snows and it stays. We'll drop it down just almost as low as it will go. And by trimming the grass down shorter late in the fall like that, it helps prevent diseases. It helps with grass will actually grow underneath the snow. So sometimes if you don't cut it really close in the fall, in the spring, it's kind of matted down. It's taller. You're like, God, I swear I mowed that last fall, but mow it really close in the fall. So the grass, as it grows a little bit underneath the snow, it won't get really tall and cause problems. So it really, really helps with voles. So you don't have as much damage with the voles. They don't have that pocket of grass to thrive in.
Okay.
And diseases, really helps with diseases. And then your grass will perk up faster in the spring when it gets that nice haircut late in the fall.
Great. All right. Well, Bonnie's joining us on the line. Bonnie, welcome to the show this morning.
Hi. I have a question about peaches. Like, this is the first year that we've ever seen a peach on our peach tree. And we live in an area that's typically colder than everywhere around us. We're in supposed to be, I think, it's zone 5, but I think it's closer to Canada. Anyway, I'm wondering, our peaches are still pretty green. Like, they haven't hardly started to turn color, but when is it okay to pick them? Will they ripen? How cold is too cold?
Yeah. Do you know what variety it is?
It's a really popular one, but I can't remember.
Is it like early Alberta?
I don't think it's Alberta.
Okay. So some of the peaches will mature as late as the 1st of October, but a lot of them will come on first or second week of September. So if you're a little cooler, that's going to push it more towards the end of September. You should get a nice blush of color on the fruit, and it should detach relatively easy. It's going to still be on the tree, but as you pull on it, it's going to come off fairly easily. And that's when you can tell. It's like coloring really is the key with the peaches. It's like when you get that nice full color and they detach fairly easily, that's when they're ready to go. You don't want them to get squishy. You want them to be just a little bit firm still.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and if they're green, they won't ripen after you pick them. Is that right?
Probably, yeah, they won't. Yeah, so once you pick them, they won't ripen anymore. So
and then if we have an upcoming frost, like what temperature is too cold to keep them on a tree?
Yeah, with the peaches, if we get into 32 or 30, they should be fine. But if you get down into the 20s, that's when it's going to do some damage. That's usually when we'll pick stuff. But usually by the time we get frost, peaches are pretty much done. If we do get like an early frost in September, then it's usually pretty light. It's usually just just barely dips into the low 30s, and then that wouldn't bother your peaches at all.
Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thanks for calling, Bonnie.
Bye.
Well, Mark, we have just about a minute and a half to finish up the show. It has flown by this morning. And before we go, let's mention again that this weekend, Anderson Seed and Garden has some special deals still on trees.
Yes. So all of our trees, shade trees, flowering trees, fruit trees, shrubs, evergreens, roses, vines, they're all 40% off right now. But with our cash sale, you can get an extra 10% off if you pay with cash. So it's a great time to come in, add some trees or shrubs to your landscape. We do have some gorgeous fall blooming perennials that just came in, and they are 25% off. They're not part of the cash sale since they're brand new, but still great color. Fall mums, fall asters blooming right now. They look really, really good. And then this weekend we have the Art Beat Music Festival downtown. So come down, enjoy some great music, find some good food. There's going to be some vendors. And, of course, our back door will be open, but Center Street's closed. So don't try and come in the front door by parking out there. You don't want to park back behind the store.
Okay.
And we have our own parking, so our parking won't get filled up with attendees of the event.
Festival.
So it should work out pretty well. Yep.
All right.
And garlic's in.
Well,
Yep,
Mark,
garlic's here.
hey, enjoy it, and we'll talk to you again next week here on the Garden Guide on KVNU.
Following the big stories, News Talk KVNU, Logan, proud